Hi there. I'm outside on a nice hot summer day and I decided to put together some fairy gardens out here under the tree today. So I'm going to start with using a nice ceramic pot, and these are the kind of things that I use to put the gardens together. This is a live garden that I'm working on today using some live succulent plants, some fairies, and I'm going to make this particular one for my sister. It's going to have little Hula girls and Hawaiian theme. So let me show you what I am using to pick from here as I put this garden together. Alright, I start with some pots. I have potting soil. I'm going to fill them with that. I have a variety of succulent plants here that I've been collecting for a couple weeks, and some of them have been multiplying for me so that I have more plants to work with. I have some colored glass beads here, not exactly beads, but melted pieces of glass of all different colors, and I have some nice iridescent glass, and some little things like birdies and silk flowers, some bags of polished stones, different things that you can use to make a water looking effect. And then we have little characters like doggies and mushrooms. We even have a little pirate flag if we need that. You never know. Some things that make sense to put in each theme. And then we go on and on. Just try to have a lot of different things to pick from because it helps your creativity. Like I might be using a clay pot from time to time, or something I picked up at a yard sale that was a pot or something that looked like it would fit into a fairy garden, just a little ceramic thing like that. We have some old pieces of jewelry just to get some bling bling if we need it. See, there's some jewels, and there's all kinds of things to work with here. We have a teapot. Could be used as a fairy house. We have some nice fabric to use for our teepees, some beautiful seashells that came from Florida, some sand, as well as some things that we made ourselves. Avery, thank you for helping me with these things, and I miss you being here today because a lot of times we design our fairy gardens together and it really helps us move them along and make some really cool gardens. The first one I'm going to put together is for my sister Dawn, so I have her in mind as I put together this beach theme. Because when she was a little girl, she used to wear a grass skirt and do a little dance, and that's what made me think of this one. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is take some nice potting soil and fill this container. Now we should take a look at the biggest pieces that we're going to include first. So let me show you what I have for a little fairy house. All right, I picked up a little clay pot, and this is a rather small pot, but what I liked about it, it was tall. And I also found kind of a beach umbrella looking thing, kind of like a tiki hut feel to it. And there's a metal pole that you put into the middle of this thing, and I thought this will hold nice and secure if I put it into the little clay pot. And there's a nice little shelter for the Hawaiian girl fairies. So let's place this in the back of the landscape here. And then the next thing we want to do is position some of the live plants that we think would go good with the Hawaiian theme. The one plant that I think is really cute is called the burro's tail, or donkey's tail. And it's a nice succulent that multiplies itself. As long as I've had this for a couple weeks, it already made some more plants here. So you can break this apart, and you don't have to use the whole thing. We can use them in a couple different gardens. So I'm going to start with this. As the summer goes on, this burro's tail will get longer and longer, and some people have them in large pots just cascading down on their porches. I think they're beautiful. So let's put this in first. Make a little hole here, and I want to put this near the side because it will start to cascade outside of this pot as it grows. All right. This plant here is called Lola for short, but it looks like a nice, beautiful flower, and it's actually called Echeveria, I believe it's pronounced. So we're going to put that on the other side of the hut, and then that will tie in some nice life into this scene here. All right, now I did bring along a palm tree. The palm tree is kind of large, but it definitely gives you the feel of being on a beach with the ocean and some sand. So we're going to move that along here. Size wise, I think that will look pretty nice. And it won't hurt to anchor a little bit along the side of the pot because it's kind of lanky. All right, now we got to get the fairies in there before we do anything else. I bought two little fairies today at Michael's that I think fit this theme. Two little grass skirt girls, one playing ukulele and one dancing the hula. And this is my sister. She has a ukulele, and she used to have a little grass skirt. And this really brings back happy memories to me, and I know it will to her too, because this is how she used to dress up and put on a show for the family, and it was a lot of fun. So let's get these girls out here. Okay, take a closer look. They're adorable, front and back. Look at their little wings. They're so cute. Okay, we're gonna put them in here next to the tiki hut. All right, starting to look cute. Here's one thing I think we could add from my old jewelry box. People brought puka beads when they would come back from their trip to Hawaii. So let's dress up one of the little plants here with some puka. We'll tie in the land that they come from. And then just take the bottom of the chain and bury it in the dirt. It's kind of like a little Christmas tree. I think that'll look neat. One thing I usually like to do is make a little walkway that goes from where the fairies live or where they're hanging out to lead the eye to the edge of the pot. So that's what I'm going to do in this case with some nice little seashells. And we're going to make a little walkway path with some pretty seashells that will lead you to their house. right. Doesn't that take your eye right back to where the fairies are hanging out there?
Yep.
Okay. Now, we don't need to add like loads of other things here, but there are a few details that I'd like to put in. All right. I want to make sure we include some pineapples when we get the surface a little cleaner. And I also want to include a little bottle of fairy dust. So we have these things to add in at the end when we get down to the last detail. Okay, we won't forget about that. Put these here on the side. I think we have room for another small plant out here in the front. And this is another one that could be split up, but there's quite a big space here. So I'm going to put the whole plant down in here. And then we're going to take some beachy colored stones and we're going to fill in this area around the plants on this side. And fairies like shiny things, so we're going to use some of the bright colored, like amber colored glass, all different shades, kind of like sand colors and natural colors that you might find at the beach. We're just going to fill in on top of the dirt so that we don't just see a lot of brown dirt, because these girls are actually standing on a beach with a lot of golden and white colored sand. So let's just fill that in. Makes it a nice place for them to play. Doesn't that look nice? Now on the other side, I would like to make it look even more like a beach, and I'm going to add some decorative sand. And you can use regular sand off to the beach near you if you have a beach near you, but this is very coarse and it has tones of tan and brown and white in here. We're going to pour this on top of the dirt just to lighten up. And it could take a couple layers here, and that's all right. Spread it out a little bit. When we start to water these plants, some of the dirt will mix with the sand. And if we need to touch this up after the first watering, we can do that too. But we want to make it look like these girls are standing in the sand. And don't be afraid to blend everything together. See how nice that goes? Makes the stones pop out of there and glisten. Almost looks like they're wet. Cover up a little bit more of the dark and a little bit closer to the plant. Okay. There we go. Now, we just want to make sure that we have some kind of nice big seashell in here. And I have this nice conch shell that I've got from a lady who visits Florida every year, and her children walk around on the beach and pick up things like this. So we're going to put that in there. And then I'd like to add a little bit of floral to this. I would like to add a little floral accent here. I have a silk flower vine here, and I'm just going to clip off a few little flowers, and we're going to stick them in. This is so much fun. I hope you guys that are interested in this will actually try to do this, because I have the most fun making these, especially when you have somebody in mind that you want to give it to. Just poke everything in there. And then we're going to dress it up. You have to add the pineapples that we talked about in case they get hungry. And then we have this little special bottle of fairy dust that every fairy needs to have nearby. We'll put that up near them. All right, I'm feeling the need for one more fancy piece of ocean. And this is actually a piece of coral. I'm gonna push that into the front here. Okay, now I feel like it's finished. Okay, Dawn, this one's for you. Hope you like it. Have a very nice day. Okay, I'm gonna make another one now, since I have everything out. I have one more of these kind of pots. They're really great, and it's a very large one. It's a little bigger than some of the other ones I made. But I'm gonna fill this with some potting soil first. I want to give this a little bit of a woodsy feel, but I also want to show you like how to go about using some things that you find around the house you don't need anymore, or you might find at a flea market or something like that. So I found this teapot at a yard sale last week, and I'm going to take the teapot and make this the fairy house. And we're just going to lay it on its side in the dirt. Now, I like to add a little dirt inside the pot because this is where the fairies live, in the dirt outside. And so we're just going to make it like a little place where they can go. All right, now we could take advantage of some other things that we find or things that we made. Avery and I made these beautiful little pine cones, which we found from nature. But we painted them in some whimsical colors and added some glitter. So thanks for helping me with that, Avery. We're gonna add these. They're gonna look like little trees coming down the walkway here. All right. Then the next thing I think we're gonna work on here is getting some live plants incorporated. And I'm gonna use the rest of the burrow tails that I started in another video, in another part of this video, and these are well on their way to becoming cascading, so we want to put them where they'll be hanging over the side of the pot. Let's start over on this side. These are always one of my favorite plants, and when I was a kid I worked in a greenhouse and I took care of these, and I helped to grow them into longer plants and make new plants from these, so I always enjoyed these. In fact, when I was a kid, my parents used to own a greenhouse and a floral shop in Weatherly, PA, and I have a lot of good memories from that part of my life. In fact, I got to show my son and his girlfriend a few weeks ago what that looks like, since it's still in business. All right, now I just put a little mushroom in there for shade, and that adds a little bit to the woodsy look here. Now I think we need some more plants. Here's a nice healthy one. This is a huge plant, probably for this garden. It's a little bit big, but I'm going to use this over here on the side where there's a big opening. All right, now we need a little walkway to get the fairies in and out of this house. So what are we going to use? I have these very beautiful stones here. These are glass squares, and they have an iridescent look to them, and I just think they look very pretty for getting a little sparkle into that fairy's house. So let's place these going down the walkway to the edge of the pot. We need a little path, like a sidewalk. And once they have something stable to walk on here, we're going to frame it out a little bit for them. I have a nice piece of fence. Alright, see how nice that looks coming out of the little pot. Let me get you a little closer here. Now I'm going to use a piece of picket fence. See this fence? I bought it as a long strip. I bought this as a long strip, and I'm going to cut a piece off of here long enough to go from the pot to the edge of the container. And it's made with wire, so we're just going to form it so that it kind of contains the area where the fairies can walk up. And see, that keeps their walkway nice and clean from the outside plants and keeps it kind of private. Okay, that frames the nice glass stones here that they will walk on and keeps them nice and clean. And then we're going to secure the little trees next to the side of the fence. And then I have a little snail. The little snail is one that Avery and I made when we were doing our prep work for these gardens. And we made this from Sculpey clay and one of the little glass beads. And you can watch a video on how we made these if you want. I can put a link below for that. But now we're going to incorporate the snail into this party here. I think he likes to be over there under the little mushroom. Alright, let's see what else we can add. Alright, I have a couple little cute things I'd like to include. This is a little tree trunk, and there's a sign on it that says "Fairies Welcome." So we want to put that in here somewhere that is supported a little bit, perhaps by the handle on the teapot. Fairies welcome. And then we also have a little bird bath made from a flower, and there's already a birdie in it. So let's put that over on this side to draw some interest by the trees. All right, pretty secure. Next I'm going to take the lid from the teapot and we're going to turn it upside down and make a little bowl out of that. And we're going to turn it upside down and secure it into the dirt here. And that's going to be over here by the fairy sign next to the house. I'm going to take a sprig of silk flowers and clip that. We're going to see if we can make a little planter out of that. Then I have another little pot that I found at the same yard sale where I found the teapot last week. And I'm going to turn this upside down over here. It already has a ladybug on it and a little bow made out of a piece of rope. And that's going to be where our fairy's going to sit. This time I have a woodland fairy, and she kind of looks like she fits in the woods. Her wings look like they're made from leaves, but she just blends right in like camouflage. So let's take her out. This I think is very cute. I got it at Michael's. And we're going to sit her right on top. Okay, I think she looks nice there, watching over her garden. And she has a little bottle of fairy dust, and it says dreams. So let's put that maybe in her house for safekeeping. All right, I have a couple toadstools here. I think they have a nice color that adds a little pizzazz here. So we'll put one back here by the snail. We'll put one on the way out where he's going. I think they like toadstools. We'll put one out here by the fence. Okay, I think that's good for all the major components, but now we're going to add some stones to like cover up the dirt and make this really dressed up a little bit. So I have some polished stones here. These are just junky little stones, but they went through a rock tumbler, so they look a little smooth. And we're just going to place them on the dirt. I think it just adds a little finishing to it. And they have various colors. They have some green and black and brown, so I think that makes it really nice. Then as we water this garden, we won't, when the soil starts to sink here and there around the plants, and as the plants grow, it'll stay nice on top because of all this little pebbles. So what I really wanted to show you here was how to take some things that you make, or it's things that you find, and turn them into a great fairy garden without spending a lot of money. You could just get a few main components like the fairy and maybe some silk flowers, maybe a sign or two that you like, but a lot of these things you can make yourself, and then it makes it a little more rewarding. I think. Okay, there's the little girl in her garden, really full of nice things and beautiful live plants, and she's going to be outside here under our tree. Okay, thanks for watching.